Good evening, everybody. A bit unorthodox this evening. Excuse me, the feedback. A bit unorthodox as we get settled with regards to stuff. Order of business before the call to order is the selection of an interim deputy mayor. As you'll note on the council agenda, deputy mayor, and with that we have the comment of the motion with regards to the council appoint Councillor Holiday as the interim deputy mayor until such time as the deputy mayor Waring is able to return to the chair.
I'll give you that.
All in favor of the motion? Unanimous, thank you. With that, I'll pass the
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming out and braving the cold. Just before I call the meeting to order, just want to mention that we are recording tonight's meeting. However, we do understand that there are technical glitches happening when people try and view them online afterwards. Administration is aware of this. They're working with the software provider. The case is simply a software glitch. So they're working to improve that, to get that fixed, as well as hoping that TELUS will install our Pure Fiber as quickly as possible so we can 34. And item 3, additions or deletions from the agenda. Do we have anything?
no, we do not.
Alright. Can I have an approval of tonight's adoption of previous minutes, 5.1, the regular business meetings of January 25th, 2019. Can I have a motion on that?
I'll give you that.
Councillor Waring, or first of 2019. Councillor Gordon, all in favor? 5.2, the special council meeting minutes for January 24th, 2019. Can I have a motion?
I'll give you that.
Ms. Thompson, do we have any questions for tonight?
We haven't received any questions for tonight.
Thank you. Okay, we have no statutory hearings or delegations, so we filling in tonight, of course, Mr. Malenka. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the first. You were pretty good. Reservoir. We have been in contact with Chirac on Friday as well as this morning and received confirmation that the pumping is actually occurring. So they are back to pumping again. The equipment's up and running. And we checked in this morning as well, and even with the weather being what it is, the machines are still pumping. So we're making progress in that respect.
Right on.
Just wondering, do we have a percentage, 70 being our base level? Are we still below 70%?
Through the chair, yes, we are sitting below the 70. As you may recall, we were the system was down for a fair amount of time. Succeeding with the cold weather, that we'll be able to get past that 70 and move forward.
Perfect, thank you.
If I may, one question. We had made the decision to not up to a level. I know Black Diamond is still floating their rings. Are we going to be there? We're in perfect weather for ice.
Madam Chair, it's my understanding that we are still holding off on flooding the ring. While the conditions may be ideal weather-wise, we're still in conservation mode with regards to water usage. and we want to set.
Second item with cannabis, if there's no further questions, oh, yeah, sorry.
If I may, as soon as that hits the 70% mark, can we make certain that that gets done?
Question through the chair. Excuse me, question through the chair. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not clear on the question. Is the question, once it hits 70 to inform
Flood
council?
To flood the,
Oh, to switch over and flood the rink?
Yeah.
Yes, by all means, I think what we'll do is we'll, once we hit that. Trigger for us to pull back.
Perfect. Thank you.
Next item.
Next item being cannabis regulations education. We have when you have time, by all means, take a look at the brochures, take some with you, or anybody in the gallery who would like a copy, we have some there. Along with the brochures, we've prepared both for retail and production facilities. Business licensing, the whole sort of gambit with regards to cannabis information that may be relevant. In addition to that, we have information on the website, and we are continuing to work on putting additional information on the website with regards to all various components. The website component is we'll have a much more comprehensive website page set up for the cannabis education component. So we've made strides in.
Thank you. If we have no further questions, if I could get a motion to accept the Chief Administrative Officer's report as information. Councillor Crane? All in favor? Carried. Administrative responses to our administrative inquiries, we have from 10.1 from Councillor Hamilton, question regarding the Turner Valley garbage routes. Did you want to speak to this, Mr. Monica?
Anyway, as you noted in the report, we've provided the response. So administration does have the ability to reroute the garbage collection, and it would just be basically switching the route, start time from one end to the other. Now, to change the system. There are some people that sort of follow the garbage collection by the minute, and it's important to them. So if we do want to do a complete sort of reversal on the system, we'd ask that council give administration direction, and then we.
Lana would be, you can leave that to Lana over there.
That we direct administration to look into the possibility of rerouting this garbage collection. I'm in a sense that you need to communicate it before it's done, I guess. Yep.
And do communications for the public to reroute garbage to avoid school bells.
I would like to make the motion that we direct administration to communicate with their various people that put garbage out that day. If we talk about safety, it is a safety concern. I think it's an excellent catch on behalf of Councillor Hamilton, so I'd like to make that motion.
Okay. I'm not convinced that switching it from one neighborhood to another neighborhood when kids are walking to school would completely eliminate the problem. We might be simply
suggested changes, they would start in Seclusion Valley and would work their way back. And then the kids will all be at school by the time they get going this way, so it's totally up to council of if they want to reroute the garbage trucks, for those days.
I've been watching them for years now as the kids went to school too. It's one road, but it's an important road, and there's at least 80 kids on that road at the same time. So for the 20-minute delay, operations severely, but it will add some safety features. So I'm in favor of that.
Has to say, I'm just wondering if we should be voting on this before we see the detail of exactly where it's gonna be, to make sure that we aren't changing it. But if we'd like to, the motion's on the table, so if we wanna vote on it right now.
From Councillor Hamilton is that right now the garbage pickup is right around the school at a critical time when the kids are going to school. So if you say we move it to Seclusion Valley, by the time the trucks get into the school, because that's exactly when the pickups are happening. So you can never mitigate all possibilities of issues with the kids and garbage trucks, but there's a lot better chance that they're not coming through when the schools are loading and filling.
With the garbage truck pickup is happening at the same time school is letting in, and by doing the shift, what that does is that it has the garbage trucks in that immediate area off of Edward, what have you, in Country Meadows, coming in when most of the kids, if not all the kids, are in the school. Same day, so it doesn't affect what day it happens. It's just time of day it happens.
So if I may, point of clarification, what road exactly was the concern about? Because my understanding it wasn't Edward, it was a subdivision road, not. That's my concern. If it was a subdivision road, which my understanding it is, not one of the main school roads, we potentially could just be moving, I mean, kids are coming from Seclusion Valley to Turner Valley Elementary School, and if it's a subdivision road, we're just moving one problem.
And that's correct. Edward I was using as an example because it is the one that's closest to the school. But Edward also ties into Country Meadows. And Edward as well as Country Meadows, and probably even extended to Archibald Anderson as well, is in those areas we have. You're almost, we understand there's cases where kids are actually being asked to almost go on the road to avoid a truck if there's a conflict. So this would help reduce that. I can't speak to the specifics of Seclusion Valley other than the boulevard has its own dedicated sidewalk. School, and they're going to have to go from Seclusion Valley in towards the school zone. But for the most part, that all has appropriate sidewalks that doesn't create as much conflict.
Okay, thank you. Very Administrative response 10.2, Councillor Gary Robb's question regarding glass recycling. Mr. Malika?
The agenda package is the CO has spoke with both Black Diamond as well as Foothills County. And in the case of Foothills County, the CO has advised that the MD is not interested, and they passed a resolution on January 23rd of this year indicating that they're not in support of the temporary ban of glass collection either. So keeping in mind that all three parties are part of this equation with regards to temporary ban. So as such, that sort of answers the question with regards to what we do next. We can enforce it, although Mr. Sharp has indicated to council that we would be putting some signage up at the recycling center as an FYI.
So just to be clear, then, we will put up a sign for and it's basically purely just for their information. There's the sign, read it if you wish. You don't have to take advantage of it, do what you want, but we've indicated what's happening.
FYI, any glass collected is not being recycled, it is going to the landfill. Feel free to deposit it as you normally would, or you can put it in your regular cycle if you'd like to. And it's a temporary measure.
That's great.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll move on. I believe there's no administrative inquiries for today. So we'll move on to 12.1, cost initiatives presentation by Ms. Middleton.
That motion to
Okay.
accept 10.1 and 10.2's information, well, 10.2 is
10.2,
information.
yeah, thank you. All in favor? Thank you, carried. So
So, good evening. We're going to talk a little bit this evening. Good evening. We're going to talk a little bit this evening about some of the cost initiatives that were discussed through a couple of meetings and previously on January 24th. Participation plan. So as stated, the overview of the items this evening, we are going to talk about the cost saving initiatives. And these initiatives are really going to focus around we'll talk about other cost saving initiatives that really are internal within the organization and have no impact on service delivery and service level. And keeping in mind, these ones really make sense from a business perspective, and we would have been implementing them anyway. And the second, we're going to look at the procedures and how we're going to adopt this plan, and we're going to go through some of the timelines. So firstly, the cost saving initiatives. So administration presented a high-level overview of meeting. And the list of recommended actions are presented this evening. So how we devised the cost saving initiatives and what we proposed would be for those that are not familiar, using financial impact and as well as ease of implementation, and we charted them on this heat map. And so the ones that are enclosed up in the to have the best in financial impact as well as ease of implementation. So there's a number of them that have that met that criteria. I think there's approximately 11 as well as part of our internal operations. So the following is the ranking of those that fell within the right-hand top corner, and the amount stated. Some of these are really, from a business perspective, they make sense. We would have been doing them regardless, because they do have savings. So color copying, we're going to represent 4 times the cost of a normal black and white copy. And not only here within the color copying, we are gonna, as much as possible, we're gonna try and do whatever we can to limit the amount of paper that we online, and therefore we can have cost savings as well. The other item we're going to explore is online billing options, and currently we mail out utility bills 6 times per year, and these have significant costs not only for as well as employee time. So we believe, administration believes, we can create some efficiencies by trying to adopt an online and we'll provide our residents the option to receive their bill and online and pay online. So both of these have cost savings for administration and the town. For the third one, we're currently to have some significant savings. Our intention is to have this contract signed in the next week or so. We've gone through and where possible, we've eliminated landlines if we don't need of TELUS products. And so this will represent quite significant savings. We've also looked at our IT services and see what is currently not being utilized to its fullest potential, and perhaps we have an opportunity to eliminate the software and the hardware and the services. So we believe we can see a $5,000 PM cost. We are really exploring the opportunity of bringing a project manager in-house. And what this will allow us to do is when we have large projects, we can not only but as well we have the capability of building that expertise in-house and also charging the project management costs to the capital project. And there's an opportunity to reduce the costs of our current OH&S contractor. The town is currently compliant and has done a lot of really and so we realize that we can perhaps scale back the number of hours that we require an in-house contractor. To reduce the pool hours. Currently we have 95 hours per week. Administration believes there's an opportunity to cut this back to 80 hours per week, and we would recognize just under 20. Opportunity to introduce a self-serve reservation for the campground. Currently we have an online reservation system, and if we were to eliminate ground to operate it for a savings of $16,000. Canadian linen, mats, and uniforms. Currently we outfit our operation would launder and return the product to us. As well, we have mats that are in the office, so we have explored the opportunity of moving this in-house and providing our own unit by either the employee themselves, and we would just clean the mats through our operating group would just come and clean them for us. Parks position, so we Utilize additional seasonal staff to cover off any of those gaps for the summer months, and this would be a $29,000 savings. And then the last one is to adjust the pool house during the May long weekend forward until the end of the summer. There is an opportunity to delay opening of the pool from May long weekend to either June 28th or sometime in June, as and we could recognize savings of $54,000 from the swimming pool and just under $12,000 from the spray park. So overall, in the mandate that was set out by 2019 budget deficit, we've been able to, through about 6 weeks, 7 weeks of hard work with our management group and administration and $1,000 of cost savings. So the following cost savings that we've just previously discussed and addressed will have service level participation or public input is being encouraged. So for the pool, the Dr. Lander Memorial Pool has historically opened the May date, so we have two scenarios that we can present, June 14 or June 28. And then we have the staffing opportunity a week to 80 hours per week. And the spray park is also would have a service delivery and a service level impact. And the spray park as well has historically been open and scale back the operating hours and delay the opening to June 28th. So as well, the campground. The campground currently operates an online reservation system. It is proposed based on first come, first served basis. It will eliminate the need to have staff manage the day-to-day operation, although there would still be staff intervention required to clean and make requirements. As well, online billing options. This has a service delivery, service level impact. So utility bills are currently mailed out 6 times per year. Opportunity, we could do this in an online format.
It's divided into two pieces. The presentation is divided into two pieces. So the participation.
That's the end.
That's it. Okay.
Madam Chairman, if I may. Suggestion might be to jump ahead on the slides somewhat to the timing for.
That's only 14.1.
Correct. Can we just go straight to the summary? Karine, can you just touch on this and then we will conclude this part of the presentation?
To complete off the cost savings initiative portion. Administration is seeking approval to execute a public participation plan. The results will be reported Council will incorporate the priorities as identified in the survey results to determine which cost-saving initiatives will be adopted. And administration will bring those draft operating budget on March 5th, incorporating those particular cost-saving initiatives back into the plan.
So if I may, I have two questions regarding this. Three CSS is the project management, the ability to apply the project management cost to the capital project budget as opposed to the operations budget. So on the one hand, we see a potential realized savings of $104,000. I have a bit of concern. On the one hand, we have a savings on the operation, but we're moving it over to capital. So I have a concern about that. And then secondly, if I could direct administration, we did ask for some specific numbers about weekend to the 1st of June as to about how many people would be using it. There were some numbers that were being bandied about, but we weren't firm on that. I think we wanted to consider the numbers for June 1st since that's Discovery Day, as opposed to June.
If you could explain, I think I know where he's going with the I don't think it's a shell game. I think there's more to it than what meets the eye on the savings on engineering costs. Can you explain? Oh, sorry. I'll get this right someday. You need to press it again.
Jonathan's got his on.
I
Oh,
gotta turn mine off.
that's why.
Sorry.
Try it again.
Had requested numbers on the pool and the spray park. I do not have them available at this time, but I will make sure I have them available.
Thank you.
With respect to the question on the engineering, so there's a couple of questions I think embedded. You are correct in that we would be putting that to capital, so the difference is being that we would not show it in the operating budget. As well, I feel we do as well, because a large portion of our capital projects, we engage third-party engineering. So with the capital project, it does allow us to as well gain extra. There are a number of really positive components to having an in-house project manager. Not only that, they can be instrumental in managing a procurement program and assist with that particular I think where we would engage a project manager is knowing that we have a number of projects that we would need to go through the process with, so we would be doing all capital projects and not be showing up on the operating side of the budget.
You or me?
I'd just like to say thank you very much. My motion back a few months back was for $199,000 for reductions. Some wiggle room on what we could and couldn't do, so I think it's fantastic that every department dug down and found the small savings, and they all add up. So June 1st, for sure, I think the pool is sacred. My personal thoughts there. June 1st, I think it has to be open for Discovery Days. which is traditionally the second Saturday in, open, and the spray park is open for that, so I mean, that's just my 2 cents, but I look forward to the public participation and seeing what they have to say about that, so I'm very comfortable with everything.
Councillor Rapp?
Thank you. Couple of things, and of course, we've seen this earlier. I'd be willing to try this project manager idea, because, you know, it could be just so I would be willing to support that, but I'd like to see a tracking of that, all the costs associated with that and all the savings. So that would be a year or so in the making, but I think that's something that would be really important, and that shouldn't be problematic. It's so few services in this town, from my opinion, that I think that's something we need to maintain. Maybe the 1st of June, like before the law, that could be a little bit of a stretch. I probably could maybe be persuaded. And I still think that, for me, the biggest albatross is salaries, wages, and benefits. And by closing the pool, personally, but I do believe that we're working on it, and I really appreciate that, and we'll continue to do that. We're, but I'm not a fan of moving the startup dates back to the 28th of June. Why even bother opening it? They was cemented in and called it a day. I'm quite frustrated with the campground, because when we were sold a bill of goods, here that this online system was supposed to solve all the world's ills, and we're going to save all kinds of money. That hasn't come to fruition at all. Works, that would be better than online, because that hasn't been the answer. I'm willing to give it a try. Those are my 3 comments for this evening. Thank you.
That was in the initial, it wasn't highlighted as one of your recommended cost savings initiatives. It's only a one-time thing, but from my understanding, it's something that we can't complete this year, so that it will be taken out of the budget.
Through Madam Chair, yes, it will be taken out of the budget. It was not included in our cost saving initiatives because we didn't deem it a sustainable cost. So most of these, we are trying to view them as but you are correct, the 20,000 will be taken out of the budget.
Okay, thank you. Now, I just want to clarify, so we're here on in-house engineering, or on outsourcing engineering for projects. If we hire somebody in-house, it will cost about $100,000. So the $104,000 savings is the difference there, is it not?
Yeah, you are correct. So we believe, from what administration has put together, we are paying a considerable amount in engineering fees. So between the engineering fees for capital, that 104,000, which would be your difference between having to hire a PM to do the work on the projects and other things that they are currently doing for the town of Turner Valley.
The $104,000 savings is strictly the savings from hiring a consultant engineering firm to do it versus the PM. Okay, so do you need from council direction on some of the, there's some cost saving initiatives that have to go to public participation, and there's some that do not, that can be done, gone ahead with immediately, sort of thing. and debate on that tonight, or on those items? Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may, what we're seeking now is just simply for acceptance of the presentation that was just put before you with regards to we are coming back later on the agenda for the public participation plan, where we will be asking council for direction on how you see that evolving and what it looks like when we have our recommendation there. There isn't a situation here where we're asking council for recommendation in March.
Thank you. So we'll need a motion to accept that as information on the report.
I'll give you that.
Councillor
Okay.
Crane. Is there- And we will be moving on to the next item, which was West Wind's update. I believe I'm going to be deferring to Councillor Crane.
Yeah, so a little ways back, we had an invitation from West Winds to the town of Turner Valley. Land, putting forth land for seniors housing projects. That letter of intent was sent to all participating municipalities within West Winds, as we all know. At the time, we didn't really have any lands, and I requested that we bring this back to the February 4th meeting so that we do not lose sight of it. Since then, and I sit on West Wind, so all the municipalities, only one community answered that letter, and that was Okotoks. 2 weeks ago, Okotoks Council, as you might have seen in the paper, West Winds and Rowan House partner with the town and build some affordable housing and so on. All other towns the letter. So I wanted to bring this back because I think this is an opportunity now for Turner Valley to put our foot back in the door. We would be essentially second place. We know that any projects that size is going to be years. We know if we can come up with some land, that we would then be in the queue, as it were. It's been years since Turner Valley has had any main agenda items in strategic planning. We identified it. I personally ran on it. I think everybody else ran it on in an election. That senior housing was a priority for our community. So let's go for it. But I would just like to make the motion that we ask administration to present potential lands that we may offer West Winds. I think we need to get in the queue, as it were, with West Winds. So we have some land issues coming up. I think our next agenda item actually is particularly based on lands. Potential lands for senior housing developments to be presented back to council. That gives administration time to do the background work. Stressing about getting projects. They are busy. So as much as the timelines aren't that strict, it's still important that we move forward. So my motion would be to direct administration to potential lands to offer West Winds Foundation for senior housing projects or affordable housing projects. Either one is fine by me.
Council
Yeah.
meeting in June, yes.
Would that, is that good, Heather? Or do we need to add anything else in there to make it juicy?
Administrative perspective, we haven't lost sight of there seems to be an interest in seniors housing potential in the town. We've also brought report to council with regards to excess lands that can be used for various things,
Mhm.
maybe possibly for seniors housing, affordable housing. They, as Councillor Crane's alluded to, they had their expression of interest, and us along with other municipalities didn't submit on November 30th timeline. That doesn't mean that the opportunities may not exist in the future. However, we're not aware of West Wind's putting out another expression. Visiting this next year or whatever. I'm not sure if pinning it down to sort of looking at lands that are available for West Winds is maybe the best way to put the motion.
Okay.
Perhaps bringing back something in June where we have administration look further into the what that may look like, and it may be West Winds and maybe other entities that are out there, because as we alluded to, we've had interest from other parties as well, aside from just
Mhm.
West Winds for seniors type housing.
Okay.
So from the equation, but just have the administration report back in June 3rd with regards to evaluating options for
Yep.
accommodating or investigating further into seniors' affordable housing options.
Yeah.
Councillor Craig?
And just leave it up to, if you wanna read it back, that'd be fine. Just eliminate Westlands. You bet.
Madam Chair, I'm just going to read this and hopefully it'll make sense. If not, we'll fine tune it a bit more. The council opportunities for affordable and or seniors housing within the town. I'll leave it fairly broad, but that allows us to
Yep.
have some flexibility with what we bring back to you with options and scenarios.
Perfect.
Is it under 25 words?
I'll call for the vote then. All in favor? Carried. Oh, section 12.3, Councillor Gordon, notice of motion, land use bylaw amendments. Turn it over to Councillor Gordon to provide some background on this motion.
Just bear with me. Some background here. On January 21st, I put forward a notice of motion requesting administration to complete a high-level review of our land use bylaw, 03.869, and the motion has been brought forward today, so I'll read the motion and then we'll the land use bylaw 03-869 as amended, and bring forward for consideration proposed amendments sections within the land use bylaw that should be included in this review, but not limited to parking and load requirements, permitted and discretionary uses within each land use district, and also to ensure the land use bylaw is consistent with the operating budget to initiate this review.
That is the motion that's on the table.
Whereas our current bylaw, some 122 pages of it, is in certain elements in need of a review to align with our about our community becoming a destination community, as well as looking at the community economic development of our community. I want to make sure we stay ahead of the curve, that we think outside the box within our region, so that we can promote advisory committee for our joint EDC potential therein with our sister community just to the east of us with Black Diamond, and we want to do we are open for business are in actuality the truth, so that we can move forward with that. I believe this is vital for us as we face a challenging economic time. We have many in our community, whether they be local artisans, forward, staying ahead of the curve, and how we can help them move forward with their local businesses.
No discussion on
Mr. Malika, you're gonna be doing some of this work as part and parcel anyway. Is this gonna be a nice overlap for you? And what timeline?
Clarification, I'll be doing all the work. I'm the only planner on staff. I have support staff, obviously, and they'll be helping and contributing. There'll be components where we may have to contract out for graphic elements that I think are necessary in this bylaw, or at least an amendment to the bylaw. That's out with my other duties, obviously. With regards to timing, at this point, as I've alluded to already in previous discussions with council, or in whole or in part, is I've been looking at the land use bylaw since I came. Bringing forward. The expectation is based on workload and staffing. We're probably looking at a 6 to 8 month window. It'll take a little bit of time. It's not something we can totally dedicate to. The level of detail we bring forward. As noted in the RFD, it's referred to as a limited review. We're not looking at doing a whole new land use bylaw. So a limited review. Here, but if it should, through public consultation or direction of council throughout the process, take a different direction or get more detailed, we'll obviously add more time and possibly more expense to it. But probably about a 6 to 8 month window. It's possible. Keeping in mind there's a public component, not just the public hearing, but there'll be a public consultation component needed for one of these exercises.
That's great.
And just one more question, and that sounds perfect. Through the FAM agreement, because we'd be changing bylaws potentially, and where would they sit? Maybe is there across the river, as it were, to ask them if they're interested in changing theirs as well?
So through the chair, I think if we were looking at redoing the bylaw from scratch, we'd be wanting to talk and touch base with Black Diamond, and that other exercises policy-wise that we're working on, whether it be the intermunicipal development plan, the municipal development plan review that'll probably roll out in the next couple of years, not in 2019, but next couple of years. So we'll at redoing our land use bylaw, but maybe in somewhat conjunction with Black Diamond. But at this point, because we're just making amendments to our existing one, there'll be some probably subtle consultation with them, and if we can align in certain areas, we'll do what we can for very different bylaws in some ways and similar in other ways. So there's an opportunity to maybe align a little bit. We may explore it, but right at this point in time, I am not exercise that I'm aware of at this time. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Does this motion have enough information for you to, do you understand what Councillor Gordon is asking, and do we need to put a date?
Correct. Madam Chair, I believe the report suggests that this will be completed in 2019, so the goal is 2019. We're 2 months in. We don't have an approved budget yet. So latter part of the fall as well anyway. But the expectation would be, and it would be my interest to have amendments to the bylaw done as soon as we can, within reason. So I don't see this going past 2019 unless
with you, I'm good with that time frame. Go slow to go fast, and let's find out where we need to make it right to encourage our community economic development.
The rest of the staff worked really hard to save us a bunch of money. Do we need the $5,000 to be included in that if it's just going to involve in-house people anyway?
through the chair. Yep. There you go. I don't expect needs some changes done to it, and some graphic components I think would be very beneficial in helping illustrate some of the components. We also need to get the information put on the website, which we just shy of a PDF. We run short of. Facilities, advertising, etc. So do I expect I'm going to hit all or use up all 5,000 at this point? No, but there's a big what if in how this exercise rolls out over time.
If I may speak to that myself, I ran on a platform that had 3 key pillars. First was fiscal accountability. I think we're getting very close to that. Second one was investing in our economic development. And I'm a firm believer that as tomorrow, and I think 5,000, that includes but not limited to legal review, contracted graphic support, printing, advertising, and public engagement. I think that's a good investment.
This is better.
With that, I will call for the vote. Do we need to have it reread, or is everyone good? Everyone's good? Okay. All okay, moving on to 14.1, 2019 Cost Savings Initiative, public
Chair, just to finish up on the presentation this evening, so as stated earlier, there was 2 components to this. There was the discussion of the cost-saving initiatives, participation plan. So administration recommends that a public participation plan take place to allow residents and the public the opportunity to provide input on cost-saving initiatives that have been brought forward. promotes, it's good governance. It encourages cooperation, working relationships with the residents of the town. It facilitates information sharing and allows the public to provide participation plan. Administration will ask the opinion of residents on cost-saving initiatives that will impact service delivery and service levels. So the CAO, with the assistance of management, has developed will be a survey with the capability to provide comments. And this will be available for residents to provide their opinion. So to encourage broad community participation in the survey, there will be a media release of the survey as to the official opening date that the survey will be available to residents and the public. Communicate. We're going to provide electronic and changeable copy signage. We're going to have distribution of printed copies to the public facilities, so this office. We're going to make available to those residents that would choose to do it online. They can come in, they can use iPad, and we have template options for them at the town office. The public will have the opportunity to access it through the website. And we're going to try and get the word out by social media, because it really is the intention of administration and provide their input. Now the timeline, as you can see, is quite tight to get the public participation survey out and have the results back and report to council. Have it released tomorrow. We have a survey that we've completed, which administration feels is going to address those areas of input that we require in order to move forward with the cost. So on February the 12th, we are going to close down that survey, and we will begin to compile the results, with the intention that we bring it back to council on the input that we require in order to complete the 2019 budget. Survey results will happen on February 19th. We will provide an overview to council of how it was developed. We will also provide those necessary areas of through the survey. And the intention really at the end of it all is to inform council and administration do they desire. For specific service level adjustments, the results will be important, critically important for decision making on the 2019 draft operating budget and to move it forward to be completed. And it will also the $200,000 deficit that we currently have in our 2019 operating budget. And further, the final budget presentation will be held on March 5th, incorporating those particular cost-saving initiatives into the So this evening we are seeking approval to move forward with the public participation plan, keeping in mind the timelines that have been
Councillor Rob?
I'd like to make a motion that council accept the public participation plan
Councillor, did you want to speak to that or first?
No, I'm actually in favor. I think it's good. Let's, so there's no other options, so I'll just leave it at that. I'm in favor of the motion, so I'll let everybody else speak to it.
Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, thanks again for your work, Corinne, much appreciated. As we look at this, as far as the survey is concerned, how specific is the pool opening, since we are doing a service level, and how that impacts that? Can we set up questions that the preference opening May long weekend?
Through Madam Chair, so without going into too much detail, we are asking very specific questions, and they are very much based
Councillor?
Just one question regarding, as one individual, and would you know if it was me taking that survey 10 times to express my opinion, or is the IP address logged in?
Madam Chair, if I could jump in on this one, just because I have been through it a bit. Because we're under a compressed timeline with a 7-day window, because we're trying to make it as available as possible, be it hard copy, basically have it limited to one IP address, one survey. If it was all online survey, it can be tied to an IP address. It makes it a lot more complicated for anybody who wants to do multiple submissions. But because we are trying to reach out to those who may not have access to internet or have a that we'll have to accept as just being part of the process, and trust that no one's going to be doing 5 or 6 or 7 submissions for themselves.
Okay. Just wanted to know.
Councillor Alpert?
Report it back to council. We haven't seen the survey. We're not sure if we like the survey or not. We won't know until we see it tomorrow or whenever we do it. But it does. This will be adopted. So at the end of the day, council has the final say. We can look at the results and say, yes, the public has spoken, this is what they would like to see, so we'll carry on from there. And assuming the survey is a good one, give the final say anyway. I'm quite comfortable with saying, let's see what the people have to say, and we'll take it from there.
I want to speak to it. Yeah, I do want to speak to this, so I'll hand that over to you.
There you go.
My concern on this one is the compressed timeline, for sure. We have cost savings that don't require a public participation plan, plus another 20 for the MDP. So we're almost up to the 200,000 as is, without and the things that require public participation. So I do want to, we had prioritized a service level review for 2019 for all service. And pool, right now is the time to do it because we're just approaching the season. But in a perfect world, should this have been extended and to do a proper doing it over, separating it from the cost savings initiative and doing this properly over a larger series of time, should we be considering that?
So, Madam Chair, perfectly agree with you. We are under very compressed timelines. Part of the reason why we have put get the 2019 operating budget approved, we don't have a large window. Not to say that there aren't things that we can't explore once we get the budget approved. Administration thinks this could be an excellent segue into a broader discussion with the residents, but at this time, because of the compressed timelines, we have to go with it,
Mr. Malenka?
If I may, Madam Chair, add to that. One thing I did learn when we were going through the survey exercises for the cannabis situation, where we were dealing with the legislation, is and then it fades off pretty quickly. So you'll see, the survey will go out, and almost instantly within that day, you'll see it spike over the next couple of days, and then it'll drop down. So while 7 days may be a pretty tight timeline, if I was 7 or 5 day window. So I think the expectation is, while it may appear to be tight, and it is, because you typically want to run this for a couple of weeks to just leave the door open, it tails off pretty quickly from my experience on the cannabis side. I would expect we'd probably have the same here. Starting tomorrow. So with that, reaching out on a whole bunch of different avenues, I think we're going to have a pretty good numbers coming in, and we should get a pretty good representation. Whoever was going to respond to this.
That is very helpful. So it will be clear on the promotional information that it is a 7-day window, so that people know they have to do it right away and can't wait. Is that clear?
It wouldn't be unusual.
Okay, so we will call for a vote. Did we put that motion, Councillor Rob? Yep. Okay. All in favor? Okay, we have our item 14.2, the 2019 by-election. I'm assuming we'll be turning the time over to Ms. Thompson to provide moving how it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These dates the resignation of Mayor Roundtree. These dates fall into that 90-day limit. Our administration is looking for all of these so I'll leave it with council from there. If there's any further questions about that,
Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, I'll give the motion that 14.2, numbers 1 through 9. That council authorize a by-election to be held on Monday, April 18th, 2019, according to the LAE Section 11(1)B.
Call for discussion, I guess.
We're just gonna go.
Discussion, just go through. Okay, all in favor?
I give the motion that council LAES 13-1.
All in favor? Carried.
Sure.
We're going down the
Number
line.
The
3.
council appoint Judy McKenzie as thank you, that council appoint Judy McKenzie through illness, absence, or other incapacity, the returning officer is incapable of performing her duties. LAEA 13214.
All in favor?
Four, that council authorize the advance poll for the 2019 municipal election pursuant to section 73(1) of the LAEA to be held at the Turner Valley.
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
The council authorized returning officer to provide for 2 deputies to attend the residence of an elector between the hours of 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. during the advance poll or on inability to attend, unable to attend a voting station or an advance voting station to vote, and who has made their request.
All in favor? Carried. I just wanna take a break here. I don't see a motion, saying where the actual polling station for. Is that in one of
That
these?
does, yeah, it will be held in council chambers, all of the election and the advance poll.
Right, so you don't need.
Yeah, I'll give you number 6. The council authorized the returning officer to designate the Oil Fields General Hospital in Black Diamond as an institutional voting station until 3 p.m. to provide for a Turner Valley electorate who on election day is confined to the hospital and is eligible to vote at that institutional voting station.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried.
Moving on to number 7, that council authorize approval for any other expenses as may.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
8, the council authorized remuneration to each election officer of plus a half-day training session remuneration to be paid at $18.50 per hour. Those election officers that are required to stay past polling close to act as enumerators, deputies, and constables shall receive additional remuneration at $18.50 for each additional hour.
Carried.
That council direct administration to schedule as soon as possible following the by-election regroup.
I just wanna clarify with, administration, we already have a resolution on the table for training to be.
Yes, I contacted Municipal Affairs about the mandatory training that is required under your council procedure bylaw. And they need a motion that's attached to this election.
Carried. Oh, sorry. Can you turn it off?
But I want
Oh, okay.
Officer, I would like to advise council that we will prepare for nomination day on February the 25th. Be 4 weeks prior to the election. It's now 6 weeks prior to the election. So nomination day will be on February the 25th between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 noon. Also, I'd like to advise if a council member decided to throw his hat in the pool to run for mayor, that resignation will need to be into the acting CAO. It has to, you have to have your resignation in 18 days prior to nomination day. No, as the returning officer.
So no motion needed for no.
Okay, I believe that, oh, Ms. Thompson?
So, if there's no questions, but I would like to advise council that we're preparing the candidates packages, which include the nomination forms, and we're hoping to have those available. Up the package here at the office.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Moving on to Ministers Awards for Municipal Excellence. I believe this was pretty self-explanatory in the package, but administration is needed. Qualify?
Sure.
That's okay?
I'll give that motion that council direct administration to review the 5 categories to determine if any of the works of Turner Valley may qualify for submissions for the Minister's Awards for Municipal Excellence.
If anyone would like to speak to that?
Yeah, so making it, I think that there's some things here that you might be able to dig up, you never know, Schrock being one of them, but we already got an award for that, but you never know. Dig deep and have a look and see what we can come up with. We have a great staff, so I think there's possibilities here.
That's carried. Okay, item 17.1, January 15th, 2019, Parks, Path and Recreation Advisory Committee minutes. I believe that's Councillor Rob's committee, so if you'd like to
Accept correct minutes of January 15th for information.
any questions? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? I believe that finishes it, so we'll conclude at 8:50.
7:50.
7:55.
Try
Oh, sorry.
7:55.
Executive Director.
Good job.